Ariane Circle, Against All Odds, Group, Ariane Circle, Against All Odds. Image caption, Ariane Circle. Years ago, strong minds, true backroom survivors from a multitude of small groups, joined forces. They understood what mattered most. Faced with a hostile and unknown world, it was necessary to guarantee security and the common good. Thus was born the Ariane Circle, from the desire of several initially insignificant groups to guarantee this security by all possible means. No technology is too complex, no method too violent to guarantee this objective. Against all odds, despite all dangers, despite death itself, we will fulfill our mission. We are the Bulwark. The Ahleen Circle is a francophonic group with numerous teams, whose common goal is to guarantee safety for all wanderers within the backrooms. Thus, they simultaneously lead expeditions to explore and secure unknown levels, testing campaigns and eradication of entities, or war against factions representing a danger to the quote unquote common good. The Circle sees its mission as a sort of quote unquote public service, a vision which often distances it from the other interest groups like the BNTG. Nevertheless, although they do not seek to create alliances, their goal has led them to approach the Meg without being directly affiliated with it. The Circle collaborates with the Meg in order to benefit from its database and the advanced equipment. In return, the Circle agrees to help the Meg in various operations thanks to its large strike force. These form smaller teams, which, though all belonging to the Circle, enjoy total autonomy. At the center of the group's organization is the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is made up of founding veterans, as well as brilliant minds with advanced knowledge in many fields. The Circle, due to the difficulty of its mission, is a profoundly technocratic group, ready to develop and use all kinds of weapons and equipment to achieve its ends. This appreciation of technology grew as more promising new minds were hired. Today, each Arlene Circle team operates in their own preferred field, putting their formidable skills at the service not of a group or an individual, but of the entire backrooms. However, not all is perfect in the Circle. Although its facade is seemingly indestructible, internally there is much tension. The autonomy that teams enjoy is a double edged sword. Many militias disapprove of each other's methods, while the Inner Circle, entrenched in its old beliefs, experiences difficulty adapting to the new problems of their environment, which is constantly evolving. During the Circle's turbulent history, teams, which only found the Circle to be a source of disillusionment, have entered into a conflict and have left, sometimes even becoming the enemy of a cause that they had once sworn to defend. But if there is one quality that the Arlene Circle possesses, it is the ability to endure these trials as best as it can. But for how long? If their professionalism no longer needs to be proven, the same is true of their elitism and stagnation. In recent years, the Circle seems to be losing its splendor. Its former glory and power seems to be fading, while some seem content to stay warm in their base, far from the dangers from their mission. The Arlene Circle. History. The Arlene Circle was founded in June of 1998, when two small French-speaking groups decided to join forces in order to better fulfill their common vision, the creation of a powerful and expert faction capable of helping the most deprived wanderers in the face of the multiple dangers of the backrooms. Although each used different methods, they commonly decided to ally themselves, pooling their allies and resources to ensure their effectiveness. Gradually, several other groups merged with them in a desire to join their strength and their vision for this noble common cause. In 3 years, the Arlene Circle already included 8 teams, led by 8 veterans who worked together to guarantee the safety of wanderers. Over the years, the group has grown and diversified in teams of focuses and action. It was also able to come into contact with other groups, strengthening its resources and its notoriety. However, from the beginning, the veterans were often in conflict over which methods to use to achieve their goals. It is because of these numerous disagreements that, on September 23rd, 2003, the Level 4 Abandoned Office agreements, named after the place of ratification, were promulgated, where all the teams existing at the time committed to being self sufficient. They kept to themselves, giving no orders to others and having no weight in the discussions of other teams. However, instead of improving relations between them, these agreements have only deepened the difference between the teams and the veterans themselves, although they were allies in a common struggle. However, this did not prevent the group from developing extremely efficiently, recruiting and training new individuals and introducing them to the customs of the circle, but only accepting the elite of what the backrooms could offer in terms of soldiers. The history of the Arlene Circle is rich in highlights and key dates for the future of the group. Most events generally only include 2 to 3 teams, and therefore have not had much effect on the future of the circle over the years. Structures. The Arlene Circle is not a singular institution like the MEG or the BNTG. On the contrary, it is made up of a multitude of subgroups called teams. Each team was created to fulfill a specific role and is therefore master in a particular area. The Hermes team, for example, is a specialist in adapting in unfamiliar terrain and in improvisation, while the Thanatos team is a master in everything relating to combat against hostile entities and arming with rustic equipment, trying to replicate as best as possible the initial mission of the Circle. Each team evolves independently for its own sake. This means that, in their nature, no team can force another to perform this or that action. This directive was initially decided in order to prevent them from slowing each other down, and thus let them expand on what they do best. However, as the Arlene Circle developed, it became clear that this direction prevented any checks and balances or higher authority in the event of internal conflict between the teams. The only general institution of the Circle is the Council of Veterans. This was originally a small group made up of the initial creators of the first Circle teams. However, as the number of teams increased, the council expanded to include the leaders or representatives of each team. This council decides on the future of the circle as a whole, for example, deciding on the creation of new teams. It also happens that they implement sanctions against teams or individuals, but because of the differences in residential levels, the sentence can only be recognized by those who accept it. This brought its share of problems, leading to what could amount to a civil war in the worst cases, notably during the dissolution or de-officialization of a team that was judged to be too radical or too dangerous towards the circle or its initial mission. Strengths and weaknesses. The main strength of the Arlene Circle is undoubtedly its professionalism. Even if the unique status of every team has over time reduced the capabilities of each of them in terms of pure combat, they nevertheless remain unconditional masters of their fields. This allows the Circle, to some extent, to be extremely versatile. However, this versatility only works in theory. Indeed, without an institution of higher authority, no one on the board can force a team to engage in a fight that they refuse, although in most cases, teams execute on an as needed basis. It happens often that a team refuses a mission entrusted to it for various reasons: need for rest, rivalries, or simply a belief that they are not capable of carrying it out. This remains rare, but tensions still occasionally arise following the refusal of one team to support another. Additionally, due to the lack of higher authority, each team over time begins to refocus on its own interests rather than on those of the group as a whole. Indeed, although they keep the same overall mission of helping and protecting wanderers within the backrooms in mind, the methods used for this are far from unanimous. Even worse so, it happens that two teams can come into conflict over equipment or an outpost, or following more vague reasons, such as a quote unquote humiliation. The Council of Veterans tries as best as it can to resolve these conflicts, but the fact that each team does not have to interfere in the work of the others makes any punishment or sanction impossible, in addition to exacerbating the conflicts between the teams. Finally, it is important to mention that with all these conflicts, the Ahlin Circle seems, for several years, to stagnate in terms of professionalism and capabilities. Indeed, if the group as a whole continues to be relatively respected, it is clear that its former image no longer suits the current circle, which, due to a lack of collaboration and conflicts of vision, struggles to evolve at the same time as the backrooms as a whole, which risks, in the long term, harming their mission and the group itself. Database. You can view the article to see the levels discovered, entities discovered, objects discovered, and phenomenon discovered by the Archean Circle, as well as other pages relating to the Archean Circle. Teams. Team Apollo. Team Apollo is the scientific branch of the Archean Circle, gathering experts in all fields of science for the common goal of unveiling the secrets of the backrooms, especially for objects and entities. Despite the friendly atmosphere and their sense of camaraderie, they remain extremely efficient and always manage to find a solution, whatever the mystery or problem that presents before them. The team was founded in 1999, initially led by Regina Lancelot, before her promotion to the Council of Veterans. It was then that she appointed Dr. Julian Arcage, a renowned scientist respected by all the backroom scientific circles, including the Meg Testers Division and even rival groups such as the UEC's Circe research team, to take over leadership of the Team Apollo and carry out its various projects. In addition, they generally supply the Arlene Circle with advanced technologies, items, and equipment used in their various operations. However, to join their team, an in depth knowledge in one or several scientific fields is expected. Members of interest: Dr. Julian Arcage, role lead scientist; Dr. Khalil Ibrahim, role senior scientist; Dr. Gabriel Knox, role field scientist; Dr. Evan Pelletier, role mathematician and physician; Dr. Pauline Langevin, role biology and chemistry expert; Dr. Michael Whitman, role IT systems engineer; Dr. Francis Dumas, role mechanical engineer; Dr. Alex Blanchard, role expert in anomalous science; and Dr. Martin Blanchard, role expert in anomalous science. See the article for a list of articles related to Team Apollo. Team Hermes. Team Hermes is a subgroup of the Arlene Circle, specialized in the exploration and mapping of unknown levels, or those whose nature is poorly understood. It is made up of particularly well trained scouts, capable of evolving and adapting to all types of environments and situations. We owe them in particular for the mapping of level 64, the Lurking Darkness, and level 94, Motion. The team was also the first to discover the arms, as well as the cult attached to them. Their ability to explore and secure new levels is beyond compare to that of other groups, which leads to the Meg sometimes asking them to support some of their incursions into little known areas. Most of the relationships that the team maintains with other groups or teams of the Arlene Circle, such as with the Team Thanatos, which Hermes has supported on several occasions, are positive. However, this team is in moral conflict with Team Hippocrates for the reasons long forgotten but whose repercussions are still visible when the two teams must fight side by side. Members of interest: Charlie Drake, role Scout; Katia Hall, role Scout, former Team Hippocrates researcher; Caleb Fixed, role Radio operator; Anthony Kelvin, role Historian; Maximilian Luisio, role Human Resources Manager; Nix, role External Collaborator; Antonine, role External Collaborator, Housekeeping Scout. See the article for a list of articles related to Team Hermes. Team Hippocrates. Team Hippocrates is a team composed of doctors, surgeons, and biology researchers. It aims to study the anomalous biology of the backrooms and offers to help groups and wanderers in medicinal fields. From the start, Team Hippocrates has been comprised of former medical students, lab technicians, surgeons, nurses, or doctors, who all possess medical knowledge that comes in handy in a world as unforgiving as the backrooms. While replicating the front room's medical system was impossible, the team has managed to help many groups set up hospitals or treatment centers, saving many wanderers from infected wounds or the need for surgery. In addition to this, Team Hippocrates has also realized many research projects, such as the studying of Staphylococcus liminalis, note, see Entity 19, the disease, with the Meg and the doctors, note, see Level 109, the Neon Hospital, organoguns, or the determination of the habitable zone, note, see Level 1, and Terror Hotel, note, see Level 5, ecosystems. Thanks to their past and current work, entity understanding has heavily increased with time, allowing for developed tactics and measures against them. For reasons lost to time, Team Hippocrates also holds a mutual deep grudge against Team Hermes. Despite the efforts of Team Pythias to remove this hatred by operative exchanges between teams in 2016, something that worked well at first, the tensions came back stronger than ever after the events of Level 8 FR started a chain reaction, accumulating with an open conflict of the contested base. Members of interest: Kataya Hall, role former Team Hippocrates researcher; Sebastian Muller, role external collaborator, housekeeping etymologist; Torsenol, role external collaborator, former Base Alpha entity researcher, KIA. See the article for a list of articles relating to Team Hippocrates. Team Pythias. Team Pythias is a circle team responsible for communication in its entirety. Its main missions are 3 in number. The first is the collection of information from newly discovered levels, entities, etc., to populate the group's database and update it, which leads members to often come into contact with the Hermes team and the other teams within the circle. The second mission is diplomacy. In the eyes of other groups, Team Pythias is the voice of the Ariane Circle, which puts enormous pressure on its members, who are mainly responsible for maintaining good relations between the Circle and the Meg, but the team still does its best to maintain stable links with other groups. Indeed, the slightest mistake can potentially create strong tensions or deprive the group of valuable resources. The third and final mission of the team is communication between the different teams of the Circle and the Council of Veterans, with the aim of maintaining the little cohesion still remaining between the different bodies of the Arlene Circle. Given the complexity of some of its missions, the team only accepts people who have worked in communication and diplomacy, which poses a problem when the team must go through numerous levels of the backrooms to accomplish their mission. Team Pythias, despite its almost capital importance, has a very fragmented structure. In fact, the team is divided into 3 sections, each responsible for one of the 3 main missions, and led by a section manager. During missions requiring the entire team, the 3 section leaders give their opinion on the procedure to follow, but it is always Pythias who has the last word on decisions. Pythias is the founder of the team, and he created it following the emergence of numerous groups possessing resources useful to the Arlene Circle. Over time, the team has gained importance, but this makes internal management much more complex than in other Circle teams. Members of interest: Pythias. Role: Team Founder. Jean Meyer. Role: Head of the Information Collections Section. Aurora Adilot. Role: Head of the Diplomacy Section. Lucas Carpenter. Role: Head of the Communications Section. Ariana the Diplomat Elster. Role: External Advisor. Francois the Auditor Leclerc. Role: Communications Specialist and Negotiator. See the article for a list of articles related to Team Pythias. Team Thanatos. Team Thanatos is the armed wing of the Arlene Circle, specializing in armed conflicts, rescue and supply operations, and the extermination of entities, as well as all situations that require a significant strike force. It is only possible to join Team Thanatos through the recommendation of an eminent member of the group or a high ranking member of the council. Thanatos is made up exclusively of people with a history of military conflicts, war zones, dangerous areas/districts, or a violent past. The current members of Thanatos come from diverse and varied contexts which justify their presence. Here are some of them. Coming from a country at war, originally from a neighborhood considered a hot zone, veteran from the military, municipal police officer on duty, forest firefighter. Thanatos' mission is to provide tactical support for the entire Circle. Initially, no team was considered the armed hand of the Circle, the members having all received rudimentary training in the handling of bladed weapons and firearms. However, with the evolution of the group and the increasingly present dangers, the creation of Thanatos became a necessity. This team was therefore created in order to resolve said problem. Each team has the possibility of summoning members of Thanatos in the exercise of a mission requiring armed forces or protection. Thanatos has a right of refusal depending on the request, and the members are not subject to the hierarchy of other teams. Thanatos is not governed by any hierarchy. Each operator has a voice which must be heard by the others and vice versa, under penalty of heavy sanctions. It is possible that operators arbitrarily elect a team leader when the situation requires it. Thanatos operators have access to additional resources, such as daily rationing, a communications system, and access to almost all of the Circle's weaponry and equipment, as well as all installations that may have military interest. Operation Thanatos is the team's current priority. It allows other teams and Wanderers to have more or less reliable data on the resistance of the numerous entities dotting the Backrooms. This is a long-term mission and must not trample Thanatos' primary mission. It is common, in this context, to see collaboration with other teams or groups, MEG, UEC, BNTG, or more rarely, with POIs. Members of interest. Members of interest. Adler. Role: Leader. Vladimir Lakroyix. Role: Gunsmith. Iris Tizayak. Role: Squad Leader. Assam Hijaki. Role: Explosives Expert. Rose Schmidt. Role: Communications Expert. Chris. Role War Doctor. Ariane, the Diplomat. Alistair. Role External Advisor. See the article for a list of articles related to Team Thanatos. This is only a list of the most important teams of the Ariane Circle. More teams might be added to this article as time goes on. This narration, as such, might be outdated. If you wish, please view the article to see if any more teams have been added to it. The importance of the Arlene Circle has led it to interact with other groups through the Backrooms. While some of these meetings were fruitful, with both groups sharing a common cause or goal, other factions were quickly seen as potential dangers, with very strained relations. The levels of trust towards each group are as follows. Green. The group is friendly and works in conjunction with the Circle. Diplomacy with them is therefore important, as long as it does not hinder the interests of the Circle. Yellow. The group maintains relations with the Circle, but these remain distant and strictly professional. No trust is placed in them, and the Circle is ready to retaliate in the event of a problem. Orange. The group does not interact with the Circle, but is seen as a potential risk. Any meetings should be done sparingly in order to avoid any conflict. The actions of these groups must be reported to a higher authority in the event of a problem. Red. The group is in open conflict with the Circle due to a great difference of opinion. Any meeting must be considered as a confrontation and must be escalated to higher authorities. Gray. The group no longer exists or has not come into contact with the Circle. Any meetings must immediately be escalated to higher authorities. The Arlene Circle interacts little with the remodeling company, their professionalism regarding terraforming often being called into question. It has happened that the AC has called on their expertise, in particular, their more or less effective mastery of the blue consumption. But their methods and their members are not sufficiently reliable for the group. Backrooms Robotics. Orange. The Backrooms Robotics firm pursues objectives that are far too suspicious for them to be considered allies of the Arlene Circle. It happens that exchanges between AC and BKR take place, but these are extremely rare and only are carried out with total distrust. The agents must at all costs be careful with their technology, which, although attractive at first glance, can prove to be as dangerous for the Circle as it is for enemies. The Black Knights. Gray. The Arlene Circle has no relationship with the Black Knights or their parent company, Heimwamut Industries, but has assisted the Meg in their research of them for a short period of time. The BNTG. Yellow. Despite the Circle's claimed autonomy, the phenomenal collection of material and resources possessed by the BNTG cannot leave it indifferent. Trade exchanges have in fact been established and help the AC to establish its power with other factions. Although relatively dependent on goods provided by the BNTG, the Circle minimizes these interactions because the lure of profit makes the BNTG a fairly dangerous group, even if they proclaim their neutrality. The Eternal Repository. Yellow. The links between the Circle and the Repository go no further than trade. Just like the BNTG, the Eternal Repository interacts with the AC only for commerce, but this time for the sale of information. Although they have never posed a problem, the lack of knowledge about them makes them a potential danger. The Eyes of Argos. Red. Although relations between the Circle and the Eyes were cordial at first, they quickly deteriorated, as the Eyes of Argos, in their quest for justice, put many wanderers, some of whom are innocent of the crimes of which they are accused, in direct danger. Several Circle agents were assassinated by this group. It must be neutralized. The Followers of Jerry. Red. The sectarian religion of the followers of Jerry, as well as their fanaticism, has several times proven to be extremely problematic for the Archlene Circle during certain operations. Encounters are rare, but teams must be prepared to respond with force to their attacks. They are too deep in their proselytism to be saved, and their religion could very well pose a major problem to the population if it becomes widespread, subjecting humanity to this strange blue bird. The Calig Institute, green. Few contacts exist within the Institute, because their work does not overlap with the Circle's missions. However, it happens that the two groups come into contact to exchange information on certain deaths within the AC. The Lost, gray. Few members of the Lost's multiple ancient cultures have come into contact with the Archlene Circle. They are often ignored, as posing no real threat to the rest of the humans of the Backrooms, but their knowledge of these dimensions has already proven vital during certain operations. The Meg, green. Although the ambitions of the Meg differ from those of the AC, their way of acting as well as their common desire to protect have brought the two groups close together. Although they are only partners, each agrees to collaborate, and the Meg makes its database and part of its equipment available, while certain Archlene Circle teams agree to lend them a hand if necessary. The Masked Maidens, orange. Although the maidens primarily fight the Meg, their perception of the groups could well cause problems for the Circle if they come to view the various teams or the Council as quote unquote corrupt. Their actions must be monitored, because the Circle's links within the Meg could well make the Masked Maidens an enemy. The Pantheon, gray. The Archlene Circle has no relationship with the Pantheon per se, but some ties exist with particular groups created to serve or destroy the Avatars, a notable example being the Eyes of Argos. The UEC, red. The military and extremist tendencies of the UEC pose a major problem for the safety of all wanderers in the Backrooms, due to odious and violent acts committed against other human beings and the threat they represent to public order and values in total opposition to those of the Circle. The AC teams obtained authorization to neutralize UEC members in case of contact. The UEC, red. The military and extremist tendencies of the UEC pose a major problem for the safety of all wanderers in the Backrooms, due to odious and violent acts committed against other human beings and the threat they represent to public order and values in total opposition to those of the Circle. The AC teams obtained authorization to neutralize UEC members in case of contact. Note: see Person of Interest Kane Patili.